Hello and welcome to Brief Tune. Today we bring you one of the most beloved cartoons, The Loud House. The show provides an inside look at the challenges and adventures of being the only boy in a large family. The show also showcases some valuable lessons, and we chose exactly the episodes that contain those, as well as some of the fun ones. So sit back and bring some popcorn and snacks because this will be a long one. Now, before we start, let's head to 400 years ago. So 400 years ago, the town of Loch Loud in Scotland was established by the Loud family, known for their boisterous nature. This family consisted of 10 sisters and a brother who is his ancestral double. The Duke of Loch Loud was the most special member of the family, the chosen one by the dragon, and was respected and loved by everyone in town. Dragons were also celebrated in Loch Loud because their ancestors had a pet dragon. Hence, during the reign of the Loud family, Lolo was the protector of the Loch and the truest friend of the Duke. After the Louds decided to sail away one day, they eventually returned to Loch Loud. However, by the time they returned, Lolo had been placed under the mind control of a villager named Morag, who held a grudge against the Louds for how they could not provide her with peace and quiet. Under Morag's control, Lolo forbade the Louds from entering Loch Loud and attacked their ship until the Duke handed over his crown, believing that Lolo had deemed him worthy no more. So the Loud family left the city, and after returning the crown to Loch Loud, Lolo was freed from Morag's control. Still, since the Loud family had been driven away permanently, she either presumably fled into hiding, where she laid an egg that hatched about 400 years later. The village also kept waiting for their return. After that, generations passed before knowing anything about what happened to the Loud family, except that they now live in the royal woods, that the family is large, just like their ancestors from Scotland, and that the archetypes of each member would also be repeated, such as that of a great-grandmother who was a practitionist of witchcraft, and that she left a book of witchcraft stored in their house. 22 years ago, Gramps, who was Lincoln's grandfather, used to be a fisherman, and because of this, he hardly got to see his family. The only good moment that Lynn remembers was when they visited the Mastodon camp every year, where he learned to run, swim, and do basically everything. Gramps also bought a truck back in the day and passed it down to his son Lynn, Lincoln's father. Lynn always wanted to be a chef, but since his dad was never there, he never received enough support to pursue his dream. However, he still didn't abandon it thanks to Miss Scales, his economics teacher, who taught him everything about cooking, and together they created a book full of recipes which she sold a few years later while Lynn opened his own restaurant. Rita was a popular teenager in high school where she met Lynn. Rita later worked as a cross guard while Lynn was still a sloppy guy, yet she fell in love with him and they went out on dates where they decided to have a large family just like the Loud ancestors. Pat is Rita's best friend, and one day Rita held a graduation party and didn't invite her to it, and since then Pat held a grudge against Rita. But the truth is, Rita did actually invite Pat. However, she locked the invitation in the book without noticing it and put it back on the library shelf. At some point, Pat became a chef at the school where Rita's kids go, and she was determined to bully them. However, Lincoln and his sister discovered what happened, told Pat, and she realized it was the truth. Flip, Lynn's childhood friend, was in love with the girl, but since he was kicked from the school dance part, he lost his only chance to confess to her. In the future, the girl will become a rich model. Flip is money hungry, so he opened a store where he scams people by falsifying lottery tickets and selling expired products. The family. After their marriage, things were going smoothly for the family at first, but as it grew, their finances started getting tight and they both had to work and give up on their dreams. Lynn gave up on his dream of becoming a chef, and Rita became a dentist assistant, but secretly wrote novels, hoping she would make a living from them even after 7 years. Between working and taking care of their household, the couple started losing themselves. So, out of escapism, Rita started doing more community service. The kids. Lori Loud. At 18 years old, 17 before season 5, Lori is the eldest of the Loud children. She's always outstanding, bossy, sarcastic, and condescending towards her siblings. Despite this, she cares deeply about them. Her rival is a girl named Carol who beats her in everything from beauty contests to grades. Lori also has a boyfriend named Bobby. Lenny Loud. At 17 years old, 16 before season 5, she's the second oldest and the dumb blonde who is friendly and girly but is naive and lacks intelligence and awareness. She shows talent in fashion design. On her first day in school, she tripped and ended up smearing the chef's face. Luna Loud. At 16 years old, 15 before season 5, she's the third oldest child of the Loud family. Luna is a free-spirited musician interested in rock and roll music, and she owns and plays an electric guitar and other instruments. Lewin Loud. At 15 years old, 14 before season 5, she's the fourth oldest and owns a ventriloquist dummy named Mr. Coconuts that she vents to. The thing is supposed to be an act, but the doll actually represents a form of therapy to her. Lewin also inherited her father's dull sense of humor, which makes them get along very well and leads to everyone thinking that she's his favorite, while in fact, the cat is. Lynn Loud. At 14 years old, 13 before season 5, she's the fifth oldest of the Loud children. Lynn is very energetic and competitive. She was bullied, therefore her escapism was getting into sports, and she was good at it. She kind of became famous in her town. Lucy Loud. At 9 years old, 8 before season 7, she's the fifth youngest of the Loud children. Lucy is a cynical, deadpan, and sarcastic gothic girl who dresses in black and has an interest in poetry and gothic fiction. She has very pale skin and long black hair that always conceals her eyes. Lucy also has an uncanny ability to suddenly appear in places, which often frightens her siblings. Lola Loud. At 7 years old, 6 before season 5, she's Lana's twin sister and the third youngest of the children. In contrast to her twin, Lola is a beauty-obsessed girly girl who regularly competes in pageants and dislikes filthy stuff. She dresses in pink princess attire and is the tattletale of the family. Lisa Loud. At 5 years old, 4 before season 5, she's the second youngest of the Loud children. Lisa is a child prodigy who has graduated college with a PhD and often engages in complex equations and scientific experiments. She wears large glasses and speaks with a lateral lisp. Lily Loud. At 2 years old, 15 months before season 5, the youngest child of the Loud family, Lily is a playful toddler who, when she was younger, used to defecate in her diaper and leave a foul stench, much to the disgust of her older siblings. She can walk independently and can be carried by one of her siblings for longer distances. Lincoln's birth. Lincoln is the only boy and the only sibling who inherited his maternal grandfather's white hair. His birth was chaos because as they were heading to the hospital, the car broke down, so they had to ask for a ride. Apparently, the man who gave them the ride was the President of the United States, and what's crazier is that the First Lady was the one who delivered Lincoln. However, they had to sign a paper indicating that they must keep this story a secret, and that's why he has no pictures of his birth, unlike his sisters. With the white hair, the unbelievable story, and some misunderstandings, Lincoln thought that he was adopted at some point. Lincoln has a best friend who serves as a wingman to him in his exploits and is of the same age as him, named Clyde. Clyde was adopted by a gay couple, Harold and Howard McBride, and one day, on a trip to France, he discovers that his adoptive family is of French descent. Clyde also has a crush on Lori. Lincoln also had an admirer, Ronnie Ann, who was supposed to have a crush on Lincoln but was too shy to show or admit it, so she picked on him. Fun fact, her older brother Bobby is dating Lori. Now, let's go through some of the best episodes of the show. Lincoln hears about the live season finale of his favorite television series and must distract his sister so he can watch it, but he can't make it in time. When he plugs in a smaller TV to allow Lucy to watch her favorite show, it leads to a power outage, forcing Lincoln to team up with his sisters to venture into the basement to switch the power back on. Gladly, there's no shortage, and lights are back on its own, but Lincoln still misses the show. Everything is more fun as a family. After becoming upset with Lori for accidentally breaking his game goggles, Lincoln becomes angry, writes her a heated, and sends her a message on the phone. However, she apologizes and buys him a new one. He quickly realizes his mistake and seeks the help of his best friend Clyde to remove the message from Lori's phone. Luckily, she deletes it herself, but she still finds the written letter. In the end, Lincoln learns that he should communicate with his sisters better. Lincoln is facing bullying from a classmate, and he's hesitant to involve his sisters in the situation because he believes they overreact. However, when Lisa discovers the bullying and informs Lynn, the rest of the sisters become aware of the issue. Despite revealing the bully's identity to his sisters, Lincoln tries to prevent them from interfering. When they find out that his bully is a girl, they tell him that she has a crush on him and they root for them. However, things go wrong when he tries to kiss the girl, and he gets mad at his sisters for meddling in his business. Eventually, he learns that they aren't actually wrong. Lincoln and his siblings have gotten tired of doing favors for Lori in exchange for her driving them to places. To remedy this, they decide to teach Lenny how to drive. However, Lori is against this and plans to sabotage Lenny by giving her false instructions so that she wouldn't pass her DMV. When Lenny discovers it, Lori makes up for her by teaching her to drive. The Loud family's car, Vanzilla, is famous for its uncomfortable seats, except for one particular seat known as the sweet spot. Lincoln is scheming to arrange seating for his sister sisters without their knowledge before tomorrow's road trip. They know about his intentions, and they wake up early in the morning to fight over the spot, only to destroy the van and cancel the trip. In a family that big, he can't control everything. Lincoln grows weary of the children's table where he sits with his younger sisters. He devises a plan to demonstrate his maturity and earn a place at the adult table with some assistance from Clyde. However, once he achieves his goal, he immediately misses the food at the kids' table. Surprisingly, his older sisters join them too. There's no rush to get to the grown-ups table. They'll get there eventually. Lincoln decides to arrange for a family photo as an anniversary gift for his parents. He endeavors to ensure that he and his sisters look their best for the picture. However, the picture perfect was lame since his sisters weren't actually happy while taking it, so he took another one and his parents and sisters loved it because it demonstrates the real them. Since the Loud siblings have been banned from every pool due to their various mischief, Lincoln decides to acquire an inflatable pool for himself to do cannonballs in and to prevent his sisters from using it. But now that he's alone, he felt bored and went ahead to play in their pool. He rips it with his cannonball, and all of them use his small inflatable pool now. Everything's more fun when everyone gets to be part of it. Lincoln and his sisters mistakenly believe that their parents want to get rid of him and his sisters after overhearing them discussing which ties Mr. Loud should throw out. In response, Lincoln and his sisters work on improving their behavior after causing chaos in the house. However, the kids are unaware that their parents are not talking about them, but about Mr. Loud's ties. Eavesdropping is not a good habit. Lincoln is practicing yo-yo tricks when his yo-yo flies into Lisa's room and breaks her beakers, so he tries to cover up the accident. However, Lisa's formula causes an explosion that exposes Lori and Lenny's closet. She finds a signed photo of Bobby on Lenny's side of the closet, assuming they've been dating behind her back. She disowns Lenny, who gets knocked unconscious by a falling coat rack and wakes up smarter than Lisa. Feeling outsmarted, Lisa gives up on science, Lynn gets kicked off her sports team and turns to a life of crime. Luna records a music video about the family falling apart and gets recruited for a tour. Luan becomes an activist and releases all of Lana's pets while Lincoln watches news reports about his sister's misfortunes. Suddenly, everything cuts back to before Lincoln removed the evidence, revealing it was all his imagination. Lisa is happy that Lincoln confessed and hugs him. Lincoln is responsible for removing the garbage. Over time, he becomes tired of it and decides to stop until someone else takes over. This triggers his sisters to also go on strike, and the situation escalates until Lily, the youngest sibling, disappears in the house filled with garbage, giving rise to a garbage monster named Trashy. The Loud siblings collaborate to locate their missing youngest sibling, but to no avail. Gladly, the baby turns out to be with their parents. In such a big house, everyone does their own fair share of chores. Lincoln wins a ride in a limousine and befriends a wealthy man named Lord Tetherby, and he's fascinated by the luxurious lifestyle, starts behaving arrogantly, selfishly, and most importantly, forgets a promise he made to his sisters. However, he soon realizes that material possessions are not as important as family and friendship. Lincoln learns a valuable lesson about humility and appreciating what he has. April Fool's Day approaches. The Loud drops off Luan at the camp. However, during a stop at a motel, the family starts experiencing strange pranks, including their van breaking down unexpectedly. Suspicion falls on Luan as each family member gets pranked one by one, leading Lincoln to suspect that Luan has an accomplice within the Loud family. In the end, they all manage to prank Luan. Lincoln is determined to purchase a new cereal, but his sister's antics at the grocery store make it a challenging task. He tries to find all the products on the shopping list, but another kid takes the last box of cereal that he wanted. Lincoln chases him, but the manager catches the bratty kid and kicks him out, allowing Lincoln to finally get the cereal. However, when Lincoln brings his sisters to the cash register to pay, they start arguing and a fight breaks out. After getting kicked, Lincoln's mother expresses disappointment in him for not being able to do the shopping, and this makes his sisters feel guilty. So they buy him cereal as a way to make it up to him, and they all have a food fight using the cereal. After feeling that he has become less masculine from spending too much time with his sisters, Lincoln decides to reclaim his manliness by going camping with Clyde. During their camping trip, the boys get lost in the wilderness, and Lincoln must rely on the skills he learned from his sisters to ensure their safe return. He learned to appreciate the knowledge gained from his experiences with his sisters to overcome challenges. Rita, concerned that Lincoln is not active enough, enrolls him in the Royal Woods Roosters football team. When Lincoln's attempts to avoid playing fail, Lynn Jr. trains him in football. However, the training goes poorly, leading Lincoln to have Lynn take his place on the team. Everything seems to be going well until Lynn gets injured and is unable to continue playing. Lincoln feels guilty and confesses to his parents and the coach about the switch and offers to enter the game. In a comical turn of events, Lincoln accidentally scores a safety for the opposing team, resulting in their loss. This portrays Lincoln's the consequences of his actions, ultimately learning the importance of being true to himself. Lincoln attempts to evade Ronnie Ann to avoid being asked to the Sadie Hawkins dance, as he already has plans. Subsequently, he fabricates a story to his sisters, leading them to unintentionally arrange 4 dates for him. The girls he ends up with are Lucy's friend Haiku, Lynn's roller derby teammate Polly Payne, Luan's clown school friend Giggles, and Luna's friend Tabby. Now, Lincoln must juggle his interactions with each girl while also avoiding Ronnie Ann. In the end, they meet and go to the arcade together while the girls find other partners. Lori becomes envious when Bobby starts spending more time with Lincoln, who considered Bobby as the older brother he never had. At Lucy's suggestion, Lori decides to hang out with Clyde at the local carnival to make Lincoln and Bobby jealous. In the end, Bobby had to let go of Lincoln so that he can reconcile with Lori. After becoming wary of his sister's behavior, Lincoln ponders the idea of having brothers, so Lisa's new watch invention transports Lincoln to a gender-bender reality where he initially adjusts to having brothers. However, he soon discovers the drawbacks of having brothers. He shares his room with them. It stinks. They don't have a pet. They hit him often, and they use his clothes. This prompts him to seek a return to his own reality before his time in the alternate world expires. Luan, as part of her birthday party business, Funny Business Inc., enlists Lincoln as her birthday clown assistant. However, Lincoln's performance becomes a hit, causing a rift between him and Luan as he hogs the spotlight. When Lincoln's comedic tricks fail to impress a group of emo kids at a birthday party, so he reconciles with Luan in order to entertain the attendees. After seeing a scary movie that his parents told him not to, Lincoln can't go to sleep and pulls an all-nighter. When a common cold ravages through the loud house, Lincoln believes his sisters have turned into zombies. He tries to protect his sisters from catching the flu, but he ends up sick too. In order to prepare for an upcoming test and avoid failing due to tardiness, Lincoln hires a tutor named Hugh to help him study when Lisa is unavailable. However, Hugh's attractive appearance causes Lincoln's sister to have a crush on him, which distracts Lincoln from his studies. However, the next day, Lincoln fails his test again because he gets distracted by his substitute teacher, Mrs. DiMartino, so he retakes the test and finally gets an A. The Loud siblings enjoying a snowy day and engaging in a snowball fight. However, they soon become exhausted and annoyed by Lisa's relentless enthusiasm for snowball fighting, so they decide that they want to go back to school and escape Lisa's snowball obsession. They convince Lisa to use her salt machine, which can melt all the snow, so they can go to school, and they eventually do. After eavesdropping on his parents, Clyde believes that he's going to have a sibling. Upon sharing this with Lincoln, he teaches him how to handle various situations with his younger siblings and eventually gains confidence. However, Clyde's dad reveals that they have adopted a new kitten instead, so he embraces the role of being a big brother to the kitten. Lincoln discovers that Lori and Lenny are fighting, so he tries to help them make peace, but his interference only makes the fight worse. The sisters refuse to involve themselves. However, the fight spreads to them, causing chaos in the house. Lincoln accidentally reveals more things that the sisters say behind each other's backs, causing them to fight again. In the end, his parents hide him in their bedroom to avoid the sisters' brutality. Lincoln finds a letter addressed to L. Loud, so they speculate that the letter could be for any of them, as they each have the same initial, so the siblings give their crushes signals. The next day, Luna receives a second letter with a rose, narrowing down the potential recipients to Luna, Luan, Lynn, and Lisa. They then give their crushes tokens of affection, which will lead to a third and final letter requesting a rendezvous. Each sibling gives their respective crush a token. Later, Lenny arrives with the third and final letter, which reveals that the intended recipient is Luna, and that she is invited to a venue. At the venue, the siblings discover that the letters were actually meant for their parents, Lynn Sr. and Rita, who fell in love there 20 years ago. Luna realizes that the letter was not for her, but feels inspired to express her love for Sam. The next day, Luna discreetly slips a love letter into Sam's locker, and Sam smiles upon reading it, suggesting that her feelings may be reciprocated. Lincoln's grandfather, Albert, introduces his new girlfriend, Myrtle, to the family. At first, the siblings are excited to meet her, but she starts showing up unannounced and smothering them with her kindness. The siblings become annoyed and decide to come up with a plan to get Albert to break up with her, so they create a fake photo to make it look like Seymour and Myrtle are about to kiss. However, their plan backfires when Myrtle sees the photo and thinks the siblings came to celebrate her birthday. The siblings then learn that Myrtle had always wanted a big family. Feeling sympathetic, they confess their plan, she forgives them, and they all celebrate together. In the end, Albert promises to give the siblings some space. Lincoln's food is stolen, leading to a war of leftovers. The siblings' pranks result in physical harm, prompting a proposal to divide the fridge into color-coded compartments. However, they mistakenly throw away their father's ingredients. In a surprising turn, they offer their saved leftovers to a food critic who the dad was trying to impress and get him to invest in his cooking. In a twist of fate, he ends up enjoying the meal and gives Lynn Sr. a large investment. The Loud kids are convinced that their scrapbook isn't good enough for their dad's birthday, so they set out to find the perfect gift. They go to the mall and explore various options, including a glass menagerie store, a tie store, and even a cooking class with a renowned chef. However, each gift idea falls short for various reasons. When they return home, they discover that their dad actually loves the scrapbook they made and considers it the perfect gift. They learn that homemade gifts are valuable. Lori takes a job as a waitress at her dad's restaurant. However, she quickly realizes that serving is much harder than she anticipated. Lisa, preparing for a keynote speech at GeniusCon, discovers a unique individual, Flip, with extraordinary abilities. She presents him at the convention, attracting the attention of a scientist who offers to borrow Flip for further research. Lisa later realizes Flip is being treated like a lab rat and that he is a human being worthy of respect. With the help of her siblings, she rescues him from the research facility. In the end, Flip expresses his gratitude to the kids for saving him. Lincoln and his friends try to find an alternative way to get to school after encountering older bullies on the city bus, so they try many alternative transportation methods to avoid them. Eventually, they decide to confront the bullies and rally all the other kids on the bus who have also been bullied to stand up against them, showing them that they're not afraid and outnumbered. Mr. Grouse is fed up with the Loud's nuisance, so he puts his house up for sale. The Louds try to convince him to stay, but Mr. Grouse has already made up his mind. He moves to a cabin in the woods, hoping for solitude. However, he soon realizes that he misses the Louds and the chaos they bring. With the help of the Loud family, Mr. Grouse manages to stop the buyers from purchasing his house, and he happily returns home. Clyde wants to present his food to the dean of a prestigious culinary school in order to get a spot in it if he completes the final test of preparing a whole dinner. However, the school is in France, and Clyde is unsure about leaving his friends and family behind. To help Clyde closer to home, his friends try to find teachers in Royal Woods who can teach him French cooking, but fail. So they resort to sabotaging the dinner and making a mess. In the end, their friends confess everything, and Clyde decides not to go to the cooking academy and instead finds a way to cook with his friends. Theories. Number 1. Where the money comes from. Having 11 children, the Loud parents are constantly scraping by to put food on the table. Although they certainly don't seem rich, Mr. and Mrs. Loud would need a hefty bank account in order to pay for the family's various expenses. Maybe mom and dad work around the clock in order to meet the necessary budget, hence their constant absence. Maybe they inherited the money and would be living the high life with fewer kids. Heck, it wouldn't be too far-fetched if the brilliant Lisa was the family's breadwinner, making money as a 4-year-old college professor. She's already doing the family's taxes and must have gotten some sort of cash compensation for her junior Nobel Prize. 2. Lincoln is a genius. Lincoln sets off a chain reaction that results in Lenny getting hit on the head and suddenly becoming a genius. She's able to solve a complicated mathematical problem that flies over even Lisa's head. Of course, it all turns out to be Lincoln's exaggerated daydream. But wait a minute. If the episode was mostly a product of Lincoln's imagination, does that mean Lincoln knew the answer to Lisa's advanced equation? Lincoln has demonstrated strong problem-solving skills in the past, but his fantasy suggests that the middle child may be smarter than even he realized. So, this was everything. Well, not everything, but hopefully the best of it, the series, since it's way too long to cover. We hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in another one.